folks, it's Jeff Fuzzy Wenzel from the Woodshed Agency, and you are listening to a new episode of Successfully Funded. Here we go. Let's turn it up. Turn it up. Yeah! All right, crowdfunders, how's everybody doing out there in the beautiful, wonderful land of crowdfunding? I am your host, Jeff Fuzzy Wenzel, CEO of Woodshed Agency, and the guy talking to you right now, right, on the old podcast here. If this is your first time, welcome. Welcome. Come on in, everybody. We'd love to have you. Again, I'm using my sounds early in the episode. Yeah, if this is your first time here, like I said, I'm Jeff Fuzzy Wenzel, CEO of Woodshed Agency. This is Successfully Funded. What we try to do is we like to talk to project creators running a Kickstarter Indiegogo campaign, and we like to talk to them while they're in the middle of that campaign or the campaign is just finished up. But today is a little bit different. So today's going to be a rebroadcast from episode 178, where I got to talk to the founder of KickoffLabs, which is an amazing tool for project creators to use before and even during a Kickstarter campaign. There's some things you can do even during a campaign. So John's going to be coming in a little bit later here when we get to the old interview portion. And again, if you didn't know, this was an interview, like I said, back in April. I wanted to re-air it this week just because great content and it'll be really helpful. So again, like I said, that's coming up a little later. And our musical guest today, if you stay all the way to the end, musical guest is going to be Volcano and the Radio Standards from Detroit. This is a GBS session from about 7 years ago that we recorded. Again, it was going to be what you hear here at the end is all live, all in one take. So one band, one room, one take. So that's going to be coming up as our musical guest just a little bit later. So what else is going on? Man, what a day yesterday, huh? What a day. Not going to lie, I might have cried most of the day. Yeah, I just couldn't hold it back, man. What an emotional day for not everybody. Well, it could be an emotional day for everybody, but potentially in much different reasons as to why you might have been emotional. I thought yesterday was just literally one of the most, inspiring things I've watched. Just like today, just a breath of fresh air. Just okay, the world's on fire, but not as much. Or the world's on fire for different reasons, not for our own doing. So yeah, I don't know, man. And it was good to I was on Twitter a lot yesterday. I was on Facebook, TikTok. I was just everywhere, just checking in, just watching this emotion and energy happening. The inspiration of our first female African-American, all the things, a vice president, just knowing that, have my daughter watch that stuff and just know that these are possibilities. That dream, maybe that is the new American dream, because I don't know if the middle class American dream exists anymore. I think capitalism has killed most of that, but just that energy yesterday. I had never thought in my life that I would be so happy to hear complete sentences from somebody with some power. Just complete sentences, just that alone. I even stayed up until like 7, and I guess staying up till 7 isn't that big of an ordeal, but even watching the first press conference and just again hearing respect and admiration for the press, and just hearing actual dialogue, just back and forth, not being combative, man, it's exhausting. These last 4 years have been exhausting. So it was just a really good day yesterday. And I don't know, I just enjoyed it immensely. Yesterday was also great grandma's birthday. We didn't do much. Great grandma has tends to have a little bit of a nasty streak in there, so I shied away from going down there because I didn't want to poison the old water. I was feeling so good. I was like, man, if we go down there and have a happy birthday, she's going to tell me all the negatives. And I was like, I just don't want it. So we had a nice phone call with her. We're going to try to get some food down to her, maybe have a quick dinner or something. I don't know. We'll figure out something. Yeah, she's 89. So yeah, 89 years old. So we got that. So happy birthday, great grandma out there, which I know she's not watching because, I'm not on Fox, or Fox News. Well, I don't think I am, but yeah. So just, I don't know. It's like that meme I keep seeing around of, or maybe it's not a meme. This is more like a video of, if you remember the scene in Coming to America, where what's his name, Eddie Murphy comes out, and he's all excited about being in Queens, and and he's like, "Good morning," and he's yelling that, and everybody's yelling at. It feels like that, man. It feels like I just want to go outside and just scream it from the old top of the lungs here. But man, yeah, I think today there almost should be something. I was thinking about, like, man, if I was in charge of like the press briefing, you know what I would do today? All right, everybody, we're all just gonna take a deep breath together. Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys did that with me. It was great. Other things, man. So, if you guys are a regular listener, you know that I used to do a lot of Bikram yoga 3-4 times a week, and then that obviously got shut down. But that just reopened. So when I get off of recording this podcast, I'm going to go set up my classes for that. Try to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Get back into that swing of things. Man, I could use that. And I'll have to do yoga with a mask on, but who cares? Whatever. At this point, whatever. So yeah, I'm going to go do that right after this. I'm excited. Well, I'm not going to go do the yoga. I'm just going to, I got to set up, sign the waivers, and, do all the things you got to do to get ready to go and do the old yoga. So that's coming. I can't wait. Hopefully I can start that next week, get that back in the routine on Monday. Man, it was like, I got, I remember like last year for Christmas, I got brand new mat, got all this stuff. I think I used it like 4 or 5 times, and then pandemic. No more. So what else is going on? Well, that's about it. I think that's a lot, right? New agenda in the White House. Hopefully it lightens up a little bit. Hopefully we're not on the brink of catastrophe every waking minute. Don't have to see a tweet every day. Don't have to be like glued to it. Like, just some boring politics would be amazing right now. I'd take a good solid week of that, just where I don't have to just check in. Feel like every week every week it feels like, I don't know, do I have to like grab my family and run? So just to not have that, I think is going to be really, really, really great. So if you are thinking about running a crowdfunding campaign, there are some things that you should be doing, right? Number one, you should go over to woodshed.agency right now. Go and click on all those tabs up there. One, go to the blog. You can read our new blogs every Tuesday. We have a new blog that comes out. This one is about how to do a podcast for your startup company. You guys are watching this, right? So why don't you have your own podcast? Maybe think about having a podcast for your startup company. Or you can go to the podcast, watch some of the old episodes there. If that doesn't work, you can pick the consultation tab. Pick a time to talk to me. That would be awesome. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, go over to iTunes right now, smash the subscribe button there, or YouTube, or wherever you're watching this, Spotify, Stitcher, listening to it, whatever you're doing right now, wherever you are, whatever platform, click one of those subscribe or leave us review buttons. Those are incredibly helpful. But again, make sure that you are not going alone in your crowdfunding campaign, especially if this is your first time doing it. This is a lot of work. So at least pick that consultation tab at the top. Pick 20 minutes. You're literally going to go to my calendar link and pick a time to talk. I won't sell you anything. I just, let me hear what you got, and maybe I can point you in the right direction, because there are some scenarios where you shouldn't be even running a crowdfunding campaign. Oh, I'm sorry, Siri. Why are you talking to me? That is one thing. Apple, I'm going to look at you right now. You got to fix this. A lot of stuff just turns on randomly. I've got basically the entire Apple ecosystem in my life, and a lot of stuff just turns on. Example, Siri, I guess, is just listening. But so fix some of that stuff. I would appreciate it. All right. So with all that said, again, we've got this was an amazing interview, I should say, with John Ledgard. He's the founder, like I said, of KickoffLabs. This is an amazing pre-launch tool. It does everything that you need it to do. It's not too expensive. So again, you may want to, if you're in that pre-launch phase, go check out his projects, their suite of tools, I should say, and enjoy this conversation. And I'll talk to you after it here. All right, here's my conversation with John, the founder of KickoffLabs. Here we go. All right, Josh, the red light's on. That means it's go
Cool.
time. So why don't we do a quick sound check before we jump into it? Why don't you tell my listeners what you had for breakfast this morning?
Some granola and some bacon.
Okay, all right. So on the healthy side, then maybe not on the healthy side. There, it sounds
Uh,
like.
I believe in balance and
Yeah.
moderation.
All right, all right, all right. Yeah, that's good. Any fancy granola or just some granola? Just
Just some granola and some raisins mixed in. That's all.
all right, all right. Big breakfast eater over there.
On the days I have my kids, I like to make them breakfast, and so I'll make them a breakfast, and then I join in. Otherwise, the days I don't, I feel like I just want to take the time off, and I'm just like I grab a power bar or something and just move
Yeah.
on with my day.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I'm trying to get better at it. Today I did a good job. I had like this little quinoa thing and made an egg. You know, that's what I read I was supposed to do. I don't know. We're all just figuring it out right now, right? We're just
Yeah.
figuring it out. Awesome, awesome. Well, I think we're sounding good. Why don't we jump right into kind of why we're talking today? So,
Okay.
why don't you tell my listeners kind of what your product is and how it and what it does, basically.
Yeah, so hi guys. I am one of the founders of KickoffLabs, and KickoffLabs helps people set up viral contests in minutes. So at at its most basic form, KickoffLabs is about lead generation. So where do you want to collect a set of email addresses, phone numbers for potential customers? That's what we do. Our twist on it is that we're trying to make that more engaging to boost your conversion rate. So anybody can set up like a landing page, a MailChimp form, anything, and start collecting an email addresses. That's kind of zero cost solution. And what we're looking to do is say, how could we make that more effective for people? So we add the viral component to it. And I know I've gotten a lot of flack recently about the word viral being not exactly what people want to hear these days. So I've tried to say engaging promotions, engaging contests, but what we enable to do is once somebody has signed up on your list, you can give them an incentive to share with other people. And what we find is, it's easy to offer like an opt-in bribe saying, sign here and get a download, or sign here and get 10% off, and you can start collecting email lists. But it's more effective if you convince those people who already thought it was worth signing up to tell their friends about it.
Sure.
And so we make the sharing part really easy. And then we have all sorts of contest schemes on top of that, where let's say you share with 3 friends, then you might get a bigger discount or a bigger reward for what you're doing. And in the context of crowdfunding and product launches, those are two of our big customer verticals. And I'll just start with like the crowdfunding aspect. What a lot of people running crowdfunding campaigns do is they know that they need to hit the ground running when they launch Indiegogo or Kickstarter, meaning that they don't want to launch their Indiegogo campaign or their Kickstarter campaign and be building their audience at the day that they launch it. They want to launch it and instantly get into the trending charts on one of those sites. And you want to launch it to an audience. And so they'll use our service initially to say, let's build that initial audience. And so they'll set up a campaign that says, hey, we're going to launch this Kickstarter campaign for this product. They maybe have a draft of their video. They have a draft, like some screenshots or some product shots, some text. And then they're signing people up to the campaign at that point. And then they'll say, if you sign up now, you'll get exclusive access to the early bird discounts. And then if people keep sharing, they'll give them, say, we've had some people that say, it depends on the product, what the level of giveaway is. But some people say like, okay, if you get 10 friends to sign up, we're just going to give you the product. Maybe that's a lower cost product or something. If it's a higher cost product and you get 10 friends sign up, hey, we're just going to give it to you at half off or something, like a major discount for the product, to really incentivize that sharing and drive the list creation ahead of the Kickstarter campaign. And that's sort of the first phase and the most common thing that people do who are looking to launch crowdfunding campaigns with Kickoff Labs at the start of it. And we've got a lot of, there's a lot of success stories. You can go to our website and check out customer showcases. And there's a lot of Kickstarter campaign examples there of people that have done, including one of the largest they didn't use Indiegogo or Kickstarter. They just ran their own purchase pre-launch system for a 3D laser printer. And so there's a story there. They launched and they raised $25 million, and they
Wow.
backed the referral scheme using KickoffLabs to really track that referral. And they were giving half off this laser printer if you got 3 to 5 friends signed up in advance.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So when should like how long should people be maybe using your type of product if they're in the crowdfunding space? Is this something that they're doing it for 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Like what's a typical time frame if they were asking you?
I mean, you can say I'm biased, and I say as long as possible.
Yeah, right, right.
But no, I mean, it depends on what you want to get out of it and what your goals are. Is the realistic answer. I think the minimum time, what I've seen just looking at the patterns of lots of people running the campaigns, is at least a month ahead of time before you do that first launch.
Mm-hmm.
And then into the launch, once you have it still running and collecting, because people will shift the promotion to saying just a bigger discount afterwards, just to keep it going, so you don't shut down that email collection altogether, because most people have found the email collection really effective. The reason that I say at least a month is because what we notice is even with a really well-run campaign, people get a landing page up, they have the promotion up, they have the pitch up. It takes about 2 weeks for their traffic generation efforts to really get optimized and start driving traffic. And then once you start driving traffic, if you imagine I drive, 10,000 people to a site in the first week, right? Let's say I managed to do that. I get a percentage of them to sign up. Let's say 20% of them sign up. So I've got, 2,000 people signed up in that first week. They start sharing with their friends. That second wave, that bump comes about a week later, because it takes like a week for that sharing to start really reflecting in the numbers.
Right.
And so for the most effective, I tell people, like, imagine you spend a week building traffic. You have a week at this really good traffic level, so that's week 2. You have week 3, you're starting to see the bump from sharing, and at week 4, you've got this plateau where you're collecting leads with this campaign that you've got going. And then from that point, imagine it's up to you to imagine how many emails you want to collect at that rate and how much you want to keep optimizing before your launch, right?
Gotcha.
And that's kind of a good optimistic case. I think a lot of people, it really takes them 2 to 3 weeks to really drive up that initial driving of traffic. It all depends on what their traffic driving strategy is.
And I think ideally too, like the ultimate goal is if you ran this, let's just say you ran it for 3 months, is that it would really start to just feed itself, right? Like,
Yep.
more people sharing it, you might get a lead today, that person's sharing it, but that sort of growth is continuing to sort of grow and grow and grow and multiply, right?
Yeah, and we see that in successful campaigns. I'm always careful to say like that is ideal, but a tool like ours is really, I always position it is more about like making what you're doing more efficient. So my goal, I always tell people, is if they're going to spend $1,000 in lead generation, I want our tool to make it feel like you spent $1,500.
Right.
There's great stories where it makes it feel like $3,000, and then you feel really happy. But at a minimum, you should expect, if you're using this additional amplification methods, that you're getting like a boost. And so that's why we call it a viral boost in the product, saying you're getting a boost wherever your lead generation effort is. And so to go all the way back to your first question about the length of time, at the average time for people doing the crowdfunding is about 6 to 8 weeks. It seems like where people run that average, the average time of people running the campaign.
Gotcha.
We've seen successful longer ones, we've seen successful shorter ones, and like I said, it all depends on what their goals are specifically.
And how long would it take? Again, let's just say I'm at I got my prototype and I'm going to do a campaign, I think this fall. How long is it taking me to, sign up for your tool, kind of create the assets that are needed? Like, what would I be expecting, time wise and what do I need to create? Is it, I got to have great photos, great videos, copy? What do I need to really utilize your tool?
The most important part at the pre-launch stage is really the pitch and the copy. The photos are great, like next step, like a good like explainer photos. The video is not, I don't see it in all the time. Some people will put up like a draft of their Indiegogo video or their Kickstarter video towards the end of the campaign, but it's not really necessary to keep going. But what is necessary is really testing having a good headline and a pitch. And we actually, one of the things, and we've talked about with a lot of these people building products and crowdfunding in our podcast about is there's a ton of value in those early days figuring out the copy that works. And a lot of people have completely repositioned their copy because they'll set up a KickoffLabs campaign. And initially that setup maybe takes them a couple days just to like, they'll use one of our templates, they'll apply their copy in a couple images within one of the templates, and they'll start driving some traffic with some ads or some influencers at the campaign. And maybe they don't see the conversion rate they'd like to see, and they'll say, oh, it's only converting at 10%. That seems low. And my answer is like, yeah, that is kind of low. Like maybe you want to, try testing a different ad, and they'll run an A/B test on KickoffLabs and say, oh, this headline works way better than the other headline. And there's one story from a company that was launching a product called Last Swab, which is like reusable cotton swabs. Sounds kind of gross, and they talk about that in the campaign. And they knew they had a pitch to talk about like the environment, but they just viewed that as one of their potential product benefits, right?
Right.
And as they kept doing A/B testing and seeing like what was causing people to sign up and what worked really best, by the end of it, and you can see like a picture on our site, like by the end of it, their campaign pitch was like they had this like poor fish in a picture choking on a cotton swab. And it sounds really extreme, but like that's where their message like got driven to, like, oh, we really need to push on the environmental aspect of this because the people that are going to buy it are the people that really care about the environment. And that's our product. That's our niche right now, is those people. And they weren't going to lean in so heavily on it at first. In the end, they got $700,000 in funding, launched the product, launched a line for beauty like usage and like all sorts of usage for it, and were able to then expand on that niche beyond that initial pitch. But they learned so much doing that before they put it up on Kickstarter, that their Kickstarter campaign was probably way more successful because they went through the learning stage before they put up the Kickstarter.
Right. That's always a huge thing. I tell all my project creators to be open-minded, to listen, to use this time to really kind of go through everything: your Facebook ads, your audiences, your copy, photos that are working, A/B test, all this stuff. Because you want to do it now, not we launched. Let's figure it all out.
No, we launched. Why is nobody buying this?
Yeah, what's going on here? I put it on the internet. So
that's
great.
a really common mistake. I mean, I'm glad
I know.
that. Like people ask all the time when they'll have like a one-on-one call with our support team, because we'll do that for anybody that upgrades, and we'll set up a one-on-one call with them. And one of the most common things is like they're like, oh, I set up my landing page, so when do I expect everybody to sign up? Like, yeah, you put a thing on the internet, so did a million other people. Like, it's gonna have to be some level of seed promotion into whatever you put on, and some level of adjustment and learning that goes on.
Yeah, that's great. What could people expect sort of like pricing wise for something like this? Because again, you're offering a ton of tools in this. Like, what's like pricing look like for a startup?
Yeah, so our pricing is monthly, and so if you were just selecting the monthly plan, we have a lot of people that kind of work their way up the product line. So our pricing is mostly based on the volume or the size of the campaign, and so at like a cheapest level, you're talking about 2,000 unique people a month coming to your campaign, and that's $29 a month. The most popular is the $75 a month that fits within 10,000 people a month coming into the campaign. And then you go up from there, 75 to 149 to 299. The 299 and 149 are most typically folks who are agencies running for multiple campaigns, or established companies that have a huge audience, so they already know that they're going to be driving 100,000 people on day one to a new campaign, and so they'll use us for a contest for an existing site or campaign.
Gotcha. And how does it all work for like domains and stuff? Is it all off of like your guys' domain, or do you have the opportunity to set up like a custom one? How does that work?
You can use our domains, but it's I'd actually recommend most people, if they'll own a domain for their product, they set up something like launch.myproduct.com or contest.myproduct.com and point it to our service. So we're just a host in that case.
Gotcha.
For their campaign. And then that way they own the URL and the redirection long beyond when their KickoffLabs subscription might be over.
Gotcha.
And they can control that because people are sharing that on the internet, and you want those links to keep working sort of
Mhm.
forever, because every link that points back to your site is going to point back to somewhere eventually, and you want to keep it there because there's always going to be a customer coming from that direction. So uh, I
Right.
typically suggest people use a custom domain, and that's what most of our customers do. They will set up a custom domain.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And do you guys also do stuff in like the SMS? I saw that that's like an optional feature. Is that something that's a little bit newer, or is it something that you guys have always done?
That's a little newer. We've been doing this since 2011. So
Mm.
the SMS stuff we launched last year. We had a lot of people that were collecting phone numbers, and they wanted to know if they could collect phone number without an email address. We were keying everything on the email address before, and now we can key everything in the contest on a phone number or an email
Mm.
address, and that works. It's so far been used mostly by people doing like mobile app launches,
Mm.
because it's a really good technique to get the phone number and do a push notification to the phone number when the app launch is ready, because then they're on the phone, they're there. And then the sharing works the same way. Like we'll text back a sharing link and say, hey, tell your friends about this app. The friends go and install the app using that sharing link, and the person gets credit for sending other people to install the app. So the phone number has been so far primarily used by people that are doing app development. Although we're starting to see it expand into like other segments of customers, that want to collect phone number and start having like a text relationship with people.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And do you guys just as your own business see that kind of growing more than email, or do you guys still feel like, or chat bots or any of this other stuff, or do you guys still see like email is literally like still king when all the dust settles?
So I still think email is king when all the dust settles, just because, like, I mean, like I said, we've been doing this since 2011, and I remember in like 2012, all these articles like Facebook has killed email, and
Mm.
that Facebook's the only way to reach your audience. And then a couple years later, people realize like, oh, Facebook wants to charge me to reach my audience, and they're locking my audience in a box, and now I have
Right.
no connection with my own audience. And like, yeah, that's always going to be the case. And something like email is not in that same category. I mean, yeah, there's folders, and things get moved into like spam, and things get like put into a promotions tab
Mhm.
in Google. But people still look at those things, and people still, if they're interested in your product or brand, it's still a direct connection to your audience. The text read rates, and open rates, if you were doing that, are generally higher than in email. The challenge with text is because it is a closer and more personal connection. A lot of people just choose to unsubscribe,
Right.
from text notifications, and so it's really easy to get kicked off of somebody's list as a potential customer. And so I always suggest, like, even if you're collecting text, to also collect the email. And that's why one of our first automated texts that goes out when somebody signs up via text, to one of our campaigns, we say, hey, can you confirm by sending back your email address for your
Sure.
subscription? And then the person running the campaign has both the text and the email address, so that the person never says stop to the text. At least you've still got the email address. They might not have unsubscribed there. And for me, at least as a customer, and is selfishly looking at it that way, like I do the same thing. Like there's some companies that I'm okay having a relationship with
Mhm.
text, that are important to me and sending me notices. But there's a lot where I'm just happy to have it delayed off in my email.
Right, 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 right. So, we've talked a lot about product launch and crowdfunding to this point, but what are some of the other uses that maybe that aren't so common that you still see success with your tool? Like, what are things that people wouldn't maybe think of using your tool for?
Newsletter and blog growth is a common
Mm.
one. So if you've heard of like a newsletter like called the Skim, um,
Mm-hmm.
they started using our service, and they've referred a lot of other people that are just growing sort of like newsletters and blog subscribers, to our list. And they just run a constant promotion, just saying like, you refer 3 people, we'll give you this thing,
Mm-hmm.
or we'll give you this exclusive access to exclusive content. And so just people looking to grow their email lists in general, where their email list is a primary marketing tool. And then the other is we have a pretty large vertical of people running e-commerce stores, so their own
Mm-hmm.
stores. And this is where people might be using it after a Kickstarter launch. They've got their own store. They want to grow their newsletter list. And there's 2 primary uses there. One is, we have customers who, like, once a quarter, they want to run a big contest with their email list just to juice and get new subscribers on their email list. So like, company that sells jeans, every quarter they're like, we're giving away 10 pairs of jeans to the people who get the most points in the contest by following, by sharing, by
Right.
promoting our brand. And so if you earn the most points, you get additional entries in the contest, you increase your chance of winning the pairs of jeans. And so they'll just run those contests sort of like as an evergreen contest on a regular basis. We also recently launched for e-commerce, because we're seeing so many people with online stores, and especially now where every local business is looking to have an online store. I think it's going to be growing, but we have integration with Shopify, so that you can run a contest, and in that contest, not just give people points for referring a friend to an email list, you can earn additional entries in the contest by making a purchase. So every dollar you spend is an entry into that month's contest. And then every dollar your friends spend adds to your total entries. So if you do refer somebody and then they buy something on Shopify, you get additional entries into the contest. And so running these contests and promotions on an e-commerce site is really the next biggest thing to like product launches and Kickstarter campaigns that we do.
That's very cool. Very cool. And you mentioned just a minute ago too, maybe we can talk a little bit about this. What's the one-on-one, the consultation that I think you kind of just mentioned it quickly, but what does that look like for somebody?
Yeah. So one of the advantages of our system is there's a lot of options, as we've been doing this for a long time. And there's people often like, what kind of campaign is best for me? I want to do something like a contest, but I don't know what contest is best. And we've got a lot of best practice guides and like getting started guides, but there's still, everybody needs a little bit of guidance if they're setting this up for the first time. And there may be like, there's only 2 or 3 people at the company and they need some help doing it. And so we offer for anybody who upgrades and gets a paid solution to the product, like we'll give you a half-hour consultation. And that talk with our support team runs the gamut. I mean, there's some people who are just like, help me set up my domains. The only thing I can't figure out, I'm good from there.
Right.
And then all the way to like, help me choose what kind of contest will work. And let me tell you a bit about my business and you can like give me suggestions. And we've done this enough, we can roughly pattern match and say like, oh, it looks like you've got a $50 price product. Here's a type of contest that seems to work really well. Here's a case study we can send you from our previous list of customers you can follow along with. And here's how the templates I'd recommend going with and starting with.
That's cool.
And so really just giving people that guidance that, makes them feel more confident that they're following a successful path that other people have followed before.
That's awesome. Now, so since 2011, huh? That's when KickoffLabs started?
Yep.
How'd you get into it? What was the idea? 2011 is a lifetime ago in the internet land. So like, where was the idea of all this?
So my co-founder and I were both working at a company that was in Dallas at the time, but we both worked remotely, him in New Jersey and me here. And I was kind of his boss. Like I ran the product team. He was one of the people that worked for me at the company. And I had given my notice because I knew I wanted to start a business. And I was starting to privately tell people on the team that, in 2 months I'm gone. So just so you guys know. And I talked to him, he's like, oh, you beat me by a month. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I want to start a business too. And so we started talking and realized we'd both done the same exact math, probably read the same articles on the internet about how much money it takes to start a new business. We both saved within $1,000 of each other, like the amount of money that we thought we needed. And so we decided to team up, and neither of us had any idea what we wanted to build. And so we just sat there and brainstormed, and we came up with a document that had like 50 ideas all like written out to a paragraph form, and all 50, it ranged from like a blog about beer to like, a texting service, like something like, it was a really like wide range. And then we narrowed it down to things that seemed like, we had, experience in, or, the possibility to build. And we had like 5 things that we wrote out like a small business plan for. And then reality, we kind of realized that like, once you started writing these business plans, you can make anything sound good as a business plan. If you're not looking to become the next Facebook, you can look at anything and say like, well, this is a $1 billion market. I just need 1% of this $1 billion market and it's gold.
Right.
That doesn't sound too hard. And you realize that like doing more work on the business plan wasn't going to help us. So we wanted to say like, which product could we build an audience around? Because like, well, we need to prove that we can get people to buy something and like build an audience for. And so being engineers, we said, we really just need to set up these landing pages to have people like, and see if they're willing to sign up or tell their friends about it because they think it's a cool idea, and use those two metrics to judge whether or not the product's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Being engineers, we said, let's build a product that does that. And then that was idea number 6 to our 5-person list. So
Right.
we built that out like a really rough system for ourselves, set up the landing pages for the ideas. And really, we had a lot of positive feedback on that idea. And then another one, which eventually sort of, the concept was like what Hootsuite used to be, but for enterprises and large companies. And we were literally for about a year building both products.
Oh, wow.
We were building a CRM tool kind of for monitoring tweets and social feedback and assigning it to the right people at your company. We called it SIF Social, and we were building KickoffLabs. The sales cycle for that other tool was just, it probably could have been successful. It was just way longer to convince people to sign up. And the KickoffLabs sales cycle was way shorter. And so we started to see a bunch of revenue. And I had a mentor who's like, why are you working on 2 products when you've got one that's, doubled revenue in 3 months, and you've got another that you're like struggling to get like more than 3 customers signed up for.
Right.
And so, we just sort of focused in on KickoffLabs from that point, and just haven't looked back really, and ended up being a good decision because Twitter killed like all the APIs we were using in the other one 6 months later. So if we'd really dove into that one being dependent on another platform, it might not have been the best outcome. But for KickoffLabs, that's kind of how we got into it.
So I would imagine on your end, you guys aren't as dependent on, like we just mentioned, the third party problems, right? Like being dependent on APIs and stuff. You guys aren't that dependent on stuff like that with this type of business model, correct?
Yeah, I know, correct. And we're not. I mean, the closest one is there's a lot of sharing that happens on Facebook. I mean, it just dominates the sharing space. But because you can share via text, via email, via all these other methods, we're not completely dependent on it. But that is probably the closest one. But again, we don't use the Facebook APIs for much. We do have an option that you can sign up via Facebook. But if that went away, our business doesn't go away. It's only a certain percentage of our customers that use that specific feature. And I actually still think they'd use the product if they couldn't do that as well.
So I think, because most of my audience is people thinking about launching they're launching something, right? They're in the entrepreneur space, startup space. What kind of advice do you give somebody? Because correct me if I'm wrong. When I've been kind of following KickoffLabs for a while now. I'm a full agency, so I'm always looking at the tools out there. You guys didn't start with everything right away, right? You as you kind of mentioned too, we had a couple things working, right? And those things, and you kept building and building and building. I don't remember even giveaways being a big part of your in the beginning, right?
No,
so
it wasn't.
You're right. So like, how do you sort of like mentor yourself or coach somebody else when they're working on something to go, you don't need to have all 10 ideas yet, like focus on, do these first 2 or 3 really well and allow it to grow. How do you sort of like advise people around just being patient and letting these things naturally grow into what they become?
Yeah. I think, the biggest thing I see is like people are just scared to put a foot forward, like are dipping their toes in the water because they worry that if dipping their toes in means they're going to have to jump all the way in.
Right.
And that's not what it means by any stretch. Before we started KickoffLabs, I had built an app on the side just to see like what the app store was like. I didn't build a full app. I just let's just see what app store revenue looks like, and if I could sell an app for $1, and realized that was probably a bad idea for me when I started looking at the time investment and the return I was getting. And so the biggest thing to me, the quote that's been going through my head recently is not letting perfect being the enemy of good. And so you probably have a good idea, and in your head everybody has this like awesome vision of where the idea ends up, but your vision is often stuck on like, where you might be able to be in year 2 or year 3 or 4, not where you could be next month. And where you could be next month is often more beneficial to you and to potential customers if you're just solving a tiny chunk of the problem. And so, like these people who are using KickoffLabs successfully, we've had people use KickoffLabs and say, well, I decided not to launch my product. And they'll say, well, why? And they say, well, we ran the KickoffLabs campaign. We did A/B tested, we experimented, and we couldn't get people to sign up. And they tell us like, I view that as a victory. Like I tried, I realized that like I was never going to get people to buy this.
Hmm.
And they come back again in 2 months with another thing, and they're dipping their toe in to try and like test, is this good? And ourselves, I have to tell the same thing like all the time. Like, we didn't launch with the perfect product that did everything. I mean, literally, when we launched, it wasn't much more than what Scott and I had built ourselves. Like, there were a couple text entry fields where you could enter like a headline and like a form, and you couldn't even edit the form. It was just email address. Once people signed up, it was a default thank you message. You couldn't change it. It was English only. Like, I can't even list like all the limitations that were on it when we launched the product. Like, I think we took what we built, we basically added a billing system to it and a way for other people to sign up, and just to see if they would. I mean, obviously the prices were different. It was like $10, $20, $30, just to see like what would happen. But we found like that was a great test, because like if people weren't willing to pay $10, we were never going to get them to pay 100, like eventually. And so but what we had was probably a $10 product at the time. So we just we've scaled up from there and just kind of followed what works for customers and what the customers with revenue that are successful are telling us about the product.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So one of the things, we kind of talked a little bit about like the whole giveaway strategy. What's your take on it? Because I can argue both sides of it all the time. We run a ton of giveaways on our end here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, we feel like it's a great way for a company to do it. Most of the time, if they're at ground zero, right? They have like, there's no, I'm building the Facebook page on Tuesday. I got to drive traffic on Wednesday. What am I doing? Right. Like, and so like, do you find that is still a good audience to build? If they just want to win something for free? Because that's usually the feedback I get is like, I don't want that audience. They just want it for free. How do you sort of navigate that conversation, or how do you talk to people about the just free contest crowd type of thing?
Yeah, and that exists. There is a large crowd of people like just for free. It's actually an option in our fraud prevention. Like, if somebody is referred from, like, there's lots of places on the internet or like sites and forums where people just talk about, hey, somebody's giving away this free thing, like everybody go join up. We actually have a way to say like, flag and exclude these people. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
because like it is a concern. And what I tell people is to think about their giveaway in the sense that like, you frame your giveaway in something that's as something that's useful to your potential customers, so at least that the audience is something that they're going to want. So my example to that is, if we as a company like KickoffLabs, we're going to give away like a free iPad, it makes no sense. It's just I'm only going to get people who sign up that want a free iPad, right? But if I partner with like a woman who does like our Facebook ads, and she runs a video course, I say we're going to give away 2 copies of her video course for running Facebook ads like for free as part of this campaign. At least I know people who are signing up are people who are interested in running Facebook ads. They're potentially people who are running like, or then going to run marketing campaigns, who are interested in our service. And so you won't get as many people signing up, but that's a good thing. You'll get the people signing up who are like interested in the thing you're giving away. So I always tell people the thing you're giving away needs to be at least parallel to your business, so that the people that are signing up, are potential customers for your business, and never to try and give away something that like is just going to get the largest possible audience.
Yeah.
I mean, there are exceptions to that rule. Like, if you're a travel company and you're like, I'm going to give away, like, you don't really have a choice. You're like a travel company, like, I'm going to give away like luggage or something like traveling. And then like, well, I mean, it's a broad consumer appeal. You're going to have to give away, you're going to have to take the fact that you'll get 10,000 signups and maybe only 2,000 people are really the people you're after.
Right. Yeah, that's how I answer it basically right there. It's like, it's I'm not just giving away an iPad or an iPad that my mom wants, and she's, she just they're signing up on stuff during the day and has no idea that she's even on a contest site or something, because she's just, just doing nothing. So that's great. Well, over these last 9 years or so, what has been maybe the biggest hurdle that you as a company have had to face and overcome? Like, what's been like one of the biggest challenges?
There's a lot. There's always competitors. If you have a good idea, there's always going to be somebody who like thinks it. And it's a challenge to not just compare yourselves to competitors and say like, oh, well, they're doing this, so I have to do this as well. Especially when you start getting people like that'll email and say, well, they have this feature, like, why don't you have this feature? And like, it's a pointless debate to get into because you actually don't have data on like what somebody else is doing and whether or not that feature is actually, beneficial to their audience. You just know they built it.
Right.
That's all you know. And so it's hard though to like compare, have to constantly be comparing, and to try and not compare and to only look at like what's beneficial for your audience, and knowing that there's like room in a marketplace for a lot of different solutions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a challenge for me. Like I mentioned earlier, the challenge of like always, uh, I think recently the challenge is that we're looking at is like, how do we take this product that we've built that does a ton of things and really simplify it to different verticals? Because the product having existed for 11 years, so we're starting to sunset features and just say like, people don't need this feature anymore. Like it was something that was valuable 5 years ago is not as valuable now in the current condition. And so a challenge for us, this is less unique for somebody new starting, but for us is like, how do we keep changing and molding the product that fits the current time that we're in,
Sure.
Versus saying we have to keep carrying forward all of these things that we've done.
Right.
And so that's kind of the biggest challenge that we've been looking at in the last 6 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about the other side of that coin? What is, what's like the big home run that, like if you were, given a big presentation that you start with like KickoffLabs allowed us to do this, like what's the big milestone victory?
You mean like do you mean like a personal victory or something?
Yeah, I guess
Because of the
personal or
business?
company. I mean, just like we hit this major metric we wanted to hit. We got this feature. Is there just something that you just stand back and go like, we're really really proud of this thing as a company or even as yourself?
I really enjoy, I mean, just me personally, just getting the emails from like founders or marketing professionals saying like, hey, like I might not have even seen their campaign. Like, hey, I just want to send like a note, like the tool is great. We signed up 10,000 people and like, that was awesome. So just to me,
Yeah.
getting those personal notes, seeing that we've helped other people and they saw like the value in what we did, that really motivates me personally. And then the other thing is just like, the business, when it reached a level that, we're able to like hire out for support and hire out for other roles, and be able to like step back and just do the things that I want to do and like spend as much time with like family and friends that I want to, and not worry as much about like next month's payroll or finances.
Right.
That's a big milestone that like I'm really proud of, because one of the reasons I built the company is because I was working for this company running a product team, and it was like a 60-hour-a-week job. And like I had 2 new kids, and I was like, I just hate it. Like
Right.
I'm way too grumpy. I just don't enjoy it. I'd rather work 40 hours a week. And how can I build a lifestyle where like I can work when I want to work and not when I don't want to work? And so
Yeah.
having achieved that, just to me, is a huge personal victory.
That's awesome. Let's do a couple quick questions here. What are you watching right now on the old TV?
Uh, who's not watching Tiger King?
Yeah, I know. A new episode coming out Sunday night. Did you see that?
I've only seen the first 2 episodes,
Oh.
so kind of I go through things slowly, more slowly. But that and Westworld.
Okay.
I'm only on season 2, kind of working my way through.
Third one
season
just
2.
came out, right? Isn't it right?
The 3rd season just came out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What do you listen to music wise?
So all over. I mean, lately, going back, like listening to like Black Keys. I'm grew up with I grew up with Dave Matthews, and so Dave Matthews, Black Keys, like your 1995 to 2010 like music
Okay.
in there.
All right.
Then I had kids and I stopped listening to new music.
Yeah, then it's all kids bop, huh? That's what I got a lot of, that old kids
Yeah.
pop stuff. Yeah, so it's these versions of songs with a 8-year-old singing them or something. Yeah, so which is just fantastic.
It creeps me out.
It's totally, yeah. And then they have songs that are like really not appropriate, but they change the words. And then when you search on, you just search on Spotify, you're like, hey, play and they don't get the kids bop, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that's the wrong one.
When my kids were younger, the thing that really creeped me out was all of a sudden I realized they were watching old Thomas the Train. This is when they were younger episodes. I'm like, is that George Carlin used to be the voice there, right. And you just don't expect to hear George Carlin's voice doing like a kids show, because you expect him to start swearing any second. Right. And I'm like, what are my kids listening to? Oh, it's George Carlin, dude.
It's just George Carlin is Thomas the Train. That had to be just for a paycheck. That there's no way he really wanted to be doing that, right? There's just no way.
Like that or irony, like some sense of irony.
Yeah, maybe. How about reading? Are you reading anything interesting right now?
I have not. I don't have a good list to put there. What's the last? No, I don't have a good list to put there.
How about maybe channels that you watch maybe online in terms of like to get marketing ideas or just to get ideas, or like where are you consuming maybe industry tactics or whatever it might be?
Mm-hmm. I listen to I listen to like the podcast space, so a bunch of different podcasts. Starts for the Rest of Us is a big one for like smaller companies. The Guy Raz podcast, How I Built This, just to get like inspiration. Andrew Warner and his podcast, I always listen to that stuff. I go to MicroConf pretty regularly, like every other year, just to stay in touch with like the community and like the startup community space, more in person. So those are the channels primarily.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, where can people kind of dive into your world? Where would you like us to send people, and then what should they be doing once they go to the website? Like, how do you kind of tell somebody to sort of dive in?
Just sign up and start building a campaign. I mean, it's free to start building a campaign and just walk your way through it. And if you want to reach out, Josh@KickoffLabs.com is the best way to reach me. Always happy to answer emails and questions.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Josh, I appreciate you taking time out of your day here. It's an awesome tool, lots of features. A guy like me kind of drools over it because I start imagining all the millions of things I could do for clients and stuff in it. So I appreciate everybody. Like I said, appreciate taking time out of your day. And I encourage everybody, if you're getting ready to launch a campaign or just want to figure out how to even add numbers to your blogs and stuff, go check it out, sign up, start building some stuff here. So Josh, appreciate it. Thanks again so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. How about that conversation with John? Man, amazing tool. If you guys are thinking about running a crowdfunding campaign, go check out KickoffLabs. I know if you work with an agency like myself, we might point you in that direction as well, or we might help you set that all up to make sure it's optimized and running really well. So awesome conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, let's kick it to our musical guest, man. We are going to go deep into Volcano and the radio standards here. This was a really good session. Again, we did a live in studio thing, 7 songs the band played. This is one of the best ones that popped out of it. It's in front of a studio audience. It's all recorded live, all in one room. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to have another episode coming at you on Monday. So we're going to do this again here. But again, if I don't hear from you, I hope you guys have a great week. Remember, if you need any help, go to woodshed.agency, click on that consultation, pick a time to talk. I'd love to hear what you're working on. And yeah, all right, let's go ahead. Let's rock out. Here we go. Check it out here.
I hope y'all ain't think they call me Volcano because I'm
Hey, all that smoke shit is out the window right now.
just smooth or so.
Man, you ain't just smooth being called Volcano.
Let me go to the booth right now.
Make you up.
Money machines lined up in single file format, trying to quiet the storm, but it's time to bring the war back. Got my money tight, now I'm on some takeover shit. Force magazine cover on some Jehovah shit. Stepped in, they bow to me like I'm Caesar. Planet of the A style coming out swinging. Lava man explodes till your ears start ringing. I'm Drake Pocket, big wrapped up in one being. Eastside Detroiter with a worldwide mindset. Rolling up diesel, sipping oil, hit me in my chest pumping. Me, I'm known to get it jumping like that needle on that seismic meter. Notice I'm coming. I'm dissatisfied with the way they treated my lady friend. Got the same hip hop leather belt within my hand. Redefining, opening a can of whoop ass grenades launched right in the game. Let's have a blast. I done had it up in here. My blood pressure is building. Money on my mind. I'm coming to make a killing. So be about your business. Don't catch feelings. It's wartime, and I'm here to get it to all my real niggas, my real bitches, and fake ones talking sideways. And don't nobody move I can hit a lick on the Bellagio. Walking off with a model hoe. I get her knees dirty, have her taking pictures with her. Been on one before Dre said he was on one. Sniper waiting on the perfect shot, then you're gone, son. Riding off in the sunset like Eastwood Chromium. Then the plate rails carrying me home. Sleep, wake up, wreak havoc just like a bee should. Skin tougher than leather, being made out of sheep's wool. Recognize I'm a man, you a boy. I'm a full-size talker, you a happy big toy. And big boy, yo, so my real name is Christopher. Black entrepreneur, got the whole culture lifted up. So get your head out your ass when I come through for microphone check. 1, 2, what you gonna do? My blood pressure is building, money on my mind, I'm coming to make a killing. So be about your business, don't catch feelings, it's wartime. And I'm here to get it on my real niggas, my real bitches, and fake ones talking sideways. And don't nobody move till I say so. I'm about to pull the pin, get gone, and break it down. I don't know if y'all really caught that last line. I said, big boy, y'all, so my real name is Christopher. Black entrepreneur, got the whole culture lifted up. Shouts out to Notorious B.I.G. You know, I had to take a little bit of that piece of that from him. Hold on, let me get into my big mode real quick.
You gonna do that old school shit?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it like this.
Get it to him then, big.
Look at me now, I built everything I got from the ground floor. The sky rise levels, bell hop at the front door. Thanks to America, you're rich or you're dirt poor. And thanks to Americans, you got what you asked for. I took a different route, but I ain't here to preach, though. I don't think I'm better, but I'll be damned if you think so. What you think I carry the heat for? I know you got an appetite, but I bet I can make you eat more. Literally speaking, I'm a big guy. You top me, you got a better chance seeing a big fly. And that's the code that I live by. Fly by, you fly by night, niggas ain't worth the drive by. I look around and think, who can I compete with? Trying to handle kids, you trying to find someone to sleep with. You full of it, dog, rub your nose in your own shit. Australian niggas, this is my big goal, baby. My blood pressure is building, money on my mind, I'm coming to make a killing. So be about your business, don't catch feelings, it's wartime. And I'm here to get it all, my real niggas, my real bitches, and fake ones talking sideways. And don't nobody move till I say so. I'm about to pull the pin, get gone again, fuck it. Yeah, I told y'all I wasn't coming soft this time. It's I-E-N-T. Detroit, baby. Tell them little dogs that y'all thought was big dogs to sit their ass down. Listen, let's build it up. Let's build it up. Right here. I feel good.
If that wasn't awesome, I don't know what awesome means. That's what that is.